Good morning all of you. Today I am going to discuss about morphology in flowering plants. So what is morphology? Morphology means study of the external feature of the plant in related to other branches of botany is called as morphology. So morphology is divided into vegetative morphology and reproductive morphology. Vegetative morphology and reproductive morphology. Vegetative morphology means the vegetative parts of the plants will be studied. Okay, what are the vegetative parts of the plant? Root, stem and leaf. So that is called vegetative morphology. That means in vegetative morphology, root, stem, leaf will be studied. Reproductive morphology means inflorescence, flower, fruit, all these are under reproductive morphology. So now we will discuss about vegetative morphology. If you see a plant is having underground part that is called root. Okay, so it is positively zeotrophic, that means it grows towards the earth. Okay, that is called root. What is the main function of the root? Root mainly gives anchoring to the plant, that means it gives strength to the plant to stand, and it gives supply of water and minerals, that means it is help in transport of water and minerals, right? So that is the function of the root. So we will see where this root arises, from which part of a root arises. Root arises from the radicle of embryo. Radicle of the embryo. It is a bit. Radicle of the embryo root arises. Which part of the embryo root arises means from the radicle root arises. Okay, actually what is embryo? Embryo is the first product of fertilization. Okay, so from the radical root arises. What are the functions of the root? Root main gives anchoring and water mineral supply. If you see radical, from the radical it develops into a root that is called as primary root. Primary root is developed into a main root, and from the main root many lateral roots are arises. It is called as taproot system. And this taproot is mainly seen in dicots. Dicots plants, that means having two cotyledonary structure in the seed, those plants are called as dicots, right? So this in dicots taproot system is present. So it is the main characteristic feature of dicots. So if you see a dicotic plant, it should have what type of root system? It is having taproot system, right? So this taproot, the tip of the root is covered by a sheath. Why? Because the root tip is having meristematic tissue. That means it's a growing tissue. If any, as it is growing in the deeper part of the earth, it may be ruptured, right? The tip may be ruptured. If it is ruptured, there is no growth of the root. So that it is covered by a sheath. A protective layer will be there, that is called as root cap or calyptra. The root cap is also called as what? Calyptra. Calyptra is present, right, in taproot system. If the radicle is degenerated, the radicle is not developed into primary root, it is degenerated and forming a fiber like roots at a point. From a single point many roots are arises. So like a fibers, this is called as fibrous root system. It is seen in monocots. So the plants which are having taproot are called dicots. The plants which are having fibrous roots are called monocots. So in monocot plants, fibrous root system is present. In dicots, taproot system is present. Okay, right. So from which part of the embryo root arises? Radical. Okay. So root must and should develops from radical only. Other than radical, if any root like structures are developed from other than radical, they are not from the radical. Okay, those are called as adventitious root system. Adventitious roots. I will give you an example like a banyan tree. If you see banyan tree, the roots are not from the ground, right? Many roots develop from the lateral side of the branches. Why? Because they are giving, so if it is a branch, from the branch many lateral roots are developed, right? So why? Because they are giving balance to the tree, balancing to the tree, and they are not from the radical, isn't it? They are not coming from ground, they are coming from the branches of the stem, so they are called as adventitious roots, okay, right. So these are the types of root: taproot system and fibrous root system. Taproot is seen in dicots and fibrous root system is seen in monocots, okay, right. So what are the functions of the root? Giving anchoring and water mineral supply, right. But in some plants, other than these functions, some roots perform other functions. That means they are modified to do some functions. Those are called as modifications. You have to know about these modifications only, and you have to remember the examples for the modifications also, okay, right. So those are called as root modifications. So coming to the root modifications, some plants, they store food material, storage roots. They are called as what? Storage roots. Example is radish, carrot, turnip, okay. Actually these are dicots. They are what? Dicots. Root modification means what? Performing other than its own function, okay. So here the roots storing food material, they are called as storage roots. Example is radish, carrot and turnip. They are coming from dicotic root, right. But in some monocots like asparagus is a monocot, is also storing food material, that is also a storage root. To remember these number of example, you have to make a tricky sentences. Actually I used to remember like this. When I am studying, I used to remember the scientist name, like I used to call my I am giving nicknames to my friends. Like if it is Theophrastus is there, one of my friend, I used to call them as, that means call her as Theophrastus. Then I can remember the name of the scientist, like that, okay. If any Strasburger is this, I am giving nickname to my friend like Strasburger. So to remember these type of examples, I used to make a tricky sentence. Like I'll give you one tricky sentence. Don't laugh at me. If you want to know, if you want to use, you can use it, right. So to store something, I went by RTC bus along with my friend A. Again I am repeating. To store something, I went by RTC bus along with my friend A. Okay, to store something, that means it's nothing but storage roots. RTC, R means radish, T means turnip, C means carrot, along with my friend A means asparagus. So like that I am used to remember, okay. If you want to know, if you want it, you can use it, okay, right. So next is epiphytic roots. The plants, some plants in deeper forest, they are not getting, that means small plants, they are not getting sufficient sunlight due to the canopy of the large trees. Usually they are growing in the branches of other trees. Those are called as epi means above, phytic means plant. So above the plant they are growing, they are called as epiphytic plants. So in this epiphytic plants, example is vanda. They are having specialized roots called as velamen roots. Actually they are growing above the tree branches. Here they are growing and simply having hanging roots. They are called as velamen roots. They are freely in the atmosphere, and they are having a specialized tissue called as velamen tissue. Velamen tissue, which is help in absorption of moisture from the environment. Moisture from the environment, and they are also getting shelter on the tree, right? So from the moisture and carbon dioxide they prepare food material, and they freely living on the tree. So they are called as what? They are having a specialized roots called as velamen roots. Velamen roots are help in absorption of moisture from the environment. So it is other than the anchorage and other than the water and mineral supply, right? So not exactly the function of the root, right? So they are called as velamen roots and having a velamen tissue which is help in the absorption of moisture from the environment. And example is vanda, epiphytic vanda. So I'll give you one tricky sentence like in Tamil, eppume vanda ante every time refusal, every time not want. Vanda means don't want. Vanda means what? Don't want, voddu, right? So vanda, eppume vanda, every time don't want, eppume vanda. Like that, a tricky sentence you can use it, right? Eppume, epiphyte, vanda, example, right? Next, respiratory roots. Respiratory roots are seen in mangrove plants, marshy areas. They are grown in marshy areas. That means usually in marshy areas means water locked areas. Water is more in that soil, so that there will be suffocation. Will be there. Total water is there, so automatically suffocation will come, right? So due to the suffocation, the roots are coming out. They are aerial roots are there. So they are called as pneumatophores. The specialized roots called what? Pneumatophores. They are coming out of the soil to get what? Oxygen. So they are helping respiration. That's why they are called as respiratory roots. Special name called as pneumatophores. Example is Avicennia and Rhizophora. Actually, I don't have any tricky sentence for it, but now I can give RRA. It's not triple R, RRA. Double R, A anmata, right? RRA, not RRR. RRA means respiratory roots. Rhizophora, Avicennia, examples. Rhizophora and Avicennia, and you have to remember this specialized root name pneumatophore. Here in epiphytes it is having a specialized root called as velamen root. Here storage root. Okay, right? Next, after respiratory roots, like balancing roots. Balancing roots means it's seen in banyan tree. If you take an example like banyan tree branches producing large roots which are hanging roots. They are also called as prop roots. They are called what? Prop roots or pillar roots. They are help in giving balance to the tree. Okay, they are called as prop roots or pillar roots. Example is banyan tree. And some more other balancing roots are there in some plants like maize and sugarcane. Actually, in this maize and sugarcane nodes, these are the stems. Stem is having nodes, right? At that node, lower nodes producing small roots. They are helping balance. They are helping what? Balance. So they are called as stilt roots. They are called what? Stilt root. Prop root or stilt root are examples for balancing roots. So for this, I can give one tricky sentence like banyan tree के ऊपर जाके बैठ के मेज के बिना शुगर केन खा रही हूँ, बैलेंस नहीं होके गिर गए. बनियन ट्री के ऊपर जाके मैं इसके बिना शुगर केन खा रही हूँ तो बैलेंस नहीं होके गिर गए. So it's an example for balancing root, banyan tree and maize and sugarcane. So like that you can form a tricky sentences by your own. Okay. So the specialized name is called prop root or pillar root, stilt root. Prop root or pillar root, stilt root. So you have to remember these roots names. Okay, I am giving the sentences like balancing, respiratory, epiphytic, storage, but I am not giving tricky sentences for velamen root, pneumatophore, pillar root, stilt root. Okay, right. So these are balancing roots. Balancing roots. बनियन ट्री के ऊपर जाके मैं इसके बिना शुगर केन खा रही हूँ, बैलेंस नहीं होके गिर गए. Right. Next, after that you can see parasitic roots. Parasitic roots means, what are parasite? Parasite means it's nothing but the organism which depend upon other organism called as parasite. Some plants are also acts as parasites. Those are called as parasitic plants. Parasitic plants, they are getting, that means they are getting water and minerals, food materials from the host plant. From the host plants. In order to get water and minerals from the host plant, they are producing specialized roots called as Hastoria. Hastoria. Hastoria is the name of the specialized root called Hastoria. This Hastoria is entered into the host plant and getting water and minerals and food materials. Water and minerals and food materials. Depending upon the need, they are actually divided into complete parasite and incomplete parasite. Complete parasite and incomplete parasite. And the site of the where it is accepting this food and water minerals, that means it may be root or maybe a stem. Okay, it's a host plant. See, it is a host plant. Host root, host stem. Okay, it may be a complete root parasite or incomplete root parasite, and stem complete parasite, stem incomplete parasite. Stem complete parasite example is Orabanche, Rafflesia, Belanophora are some of the examples for root complete parasite. Root incomplete parasite, Striga santalum. Stem complete parasite is Cuscuta. Stem incomplete parasite is Viscum and Loranthus. Viscum and Loranthus. Okay, right. Complete, incomplete. Why you are calling it as complete? Why you are calling it as incomplete means, if any Hastoria is enter into the xylem and phloem, that means getting water and food, completely getting food and water, that is called as complete parasite. Complete parasite. If the Hastoria is enter only into the xylem, not for food, that means it can prepare food material, but for water and minerals it depends upon the host plant, that is called as incomplete. Incomplete. Okay. So if the Hastoria is enter into the xylem and phloem, that is complete parasite. If Hastoria is seen only in xylem, that is called incomplete parasite. So depending upon the place, root or stem, root complete Orabanche, Rafflesia, Belanophora, root incomplete Striga and santalum, stem complete Cuscuta, stem incomplete Viscum and Loranthus. Actually here no tricky sentence, but my sir used to give like RCO, RISS RIS, SCC, SIVL civil. I used to remember like this. My sir given like this. So I remember like that only. It will be fixed in my mind. My sir told me like this. RCO means root complete Orabanche. After Orabanche immediately I will get Belanophora and Rafflesia. Next RIS, RISS RIS. RI means root incomplete Striga and santalum. Next stem complete Cuscuta, SCC. Stem incomplete Viscum and Loranthus, civil. Stem stem incomplete, viscum and loranthus, right? I used to remember like this. Okay, if you want it, you can use it. Okay, right. Coming for the Rafflesia. Rafflesia is a root complete parasite which is having biggest flower in the plant kingdom. Biggest flower, largest flower is a root parasite, parasitic plant which is having largest flower which is about 8 kgs weight at. It is having 8 kgs weight and it emits rotten egg smell, and it is eaten by tribal peoples. It is seen in a deeper forest, right? So it is eaten by tribal peoples. So this is about parasitic roots. They are called as hastoreal roots. That may be, these are the examples: RCO, RIS, SCC, civil. Okay, right. Next we'll go for nodular roots. Nodular roots are seen in legume plants. All pulses comes under legumes. Pulses means red gram, Bengal gram, green gram, black gram. All the grams will come under legume plants only. And this pea and next groundnut, all those plants are comes under legume plants only. In this legume plants they have root. In these roots they having nodule. That means they are having a round knob-like structures. They are called as nodules. They are having specialized bacteria inhabited. That is called rhizobium. That means rhizobium is a bacteria which is symbiotically associated with these roots. What is meant by symbiosis means? Symbiosis means mutual relationship between host and organism. That is called as symbiotic association. Right? So symbiotically associated. Rhizobium bacteria. So what is the use of this rhizobium bacteria means? It fixes the N2 from atmosphere. N2 fixing bacteria. That means nitrogen fixing bacteria. This nitrogen fixing bacteria gives nitrogen to the plant and plant gives shelter to this bacteria. So this is symbiotically associated. They are called as nodular roots, seen in legume plants. Example means all pulses will come. So this is example for nodular roots. A specialized bacteria is inhabited, that is called rhizobium. So what is the function of this rhizobium means? It fixes nitrogen. So for this purpose only, usually farmer uses rotational crop for this legume plants. That means usually farmer first year he grows rice variety. After that immediately he is not going for rice variety. He will rotate this crop with legume plants. Like he may use red gram or Bengal gram or black gram instead of rice, because due to this rice variety the soil loses the N2 to getting back in the N2, that means nitrogen. He uses usually these pulses crops, so that these pulses are having rhizobium bacteria. They fix the nitrogen and increases the soil fertility. They are called as what? Nodular roots. Next, coming to the photosynthetic roots. Some plants are having specialized roots called as photosynthetic roots. That means usually they are help in synthesis of photosynthesis. They are green in color. Automatically they are green in color, right? They are called as chlorophyllous roots. Example is Tinophyllum. Chlorophyllous, Tinophyllum. Like that you can remember. Tinophyllum, chlorophyllous. Okay. So these are the okay, right. So these are the types of root modifications. Storage roots, RTC A. Okay, next epiphytic root having velamen roots, vanda, velamen vanda. Next, balancing roots, balance, banyan tree, maize and sugarcane. They are called as prop roots. Prop roots are banyan root, and maize and sorghum is having, that means sugarcane is having stilt root. Next, parasitic roots are called as hastoreal roots. Hastoreal roots. Example, Rhizophora avicennia. Rhizophora and avicennia. Next, respiratory roots are called as pneumatophores. Example, I get confusion. This is pneumatophores. Example, Rhizophora and avicennia. Parasitic roots, so many examples are there. Example, we can take Rafflesia. Next, nodular root. Example, Arachis hypogea is a botanical name for groundnut. All legume plants will comes under nodular roots. Next, photosynthetic roots. Example, Taeniophyllum, Chlorophyllus taeniophyllum. Okay, right? Taeniophyllum. So these are the modifications of root. Storage root, velamen root, prop root, stilt root, pneumatophores, hastoreal roots. Nodular root and photosynthetic roots. So these are the root modifications. So you have to remember all these examples. So by making a tricky sentences by your own, you can remember it.